Are you ready to run your short-term rental business like a superhost? If so, look no further than Guestie for Hosts. Guestie for Hosts offers listing management for all three major OTAs, Airbnb, Booking.com, and VRBO. With Guestie for Hosts, you can create a branded direct booking website in minutes. I've been able to hit 61% direct bookings in my business and automate daily tasks such as communication with cleaners and communication with guests. Click the link in the show notes to get an additional $20 off your first month.
Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Micah and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
of Live,
Let,
Thrive. What is up, Micah, man?
I'm good, Stevie Stacks. How you doing?
Good to be back from Mexico, man. Good to be back and podcasting again. Try to do some work over there a little bit as the internet's so slow over there. So freaking slow, man. Makes it hard for a player.
Internet was great when I was in Playa del Carmen.
We'll see that you're at a freaking high-end hotel kind of thing.
I was at Airbnb.
Oh, they got the wrong internet. Where I'm staying, they got the wrong internet. I'm looking into that. I'm trying to get us some good stuff. Anyway, they're laying down fiber optics right now, so it's gonna be
okay.
You're a little too early then. You're insinuating.
Right. So who's that, you ask? This is episode 196 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, Home Alone, Uber, Lyfts, short-term rental podcast in the world, and we have a special guest, Micah.
Who we got, Steve?
Coach Cav is back.
Second time around. Let's go.
Second time around, man. A lot has changed in the world since Coach Cav first hopped on. We're so happy to have you back, man. How you been? You need I saw an intro from your website. Is that still good to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Which one? There's two or three.
Coach Cav is an experienced real estate investor who specializes in building unique short-term rental Airbnb investments that operate the sharing economy, Airbnb, PeerSpace, Turo, etc. Coach Cav is the owner of Your Space LLC, a company that manages your spaces, investor relationships, produces coaching programs, and outreaches. Coach Cav is currently a modeling and simulations planner in the U.S. Army. His life goal is to educate future investors and create opportunities for them. Sounds good?
Oh,
Still stands up?
It works.
How the heck you been, man?
Good. Busy, but good. Right.
Yeah. You hopped on about a year ago or so, or 2 years ago?
It was right after COVID. I think it was April, May-ish, 2020. So
man.
Almost a year.
2 years, yeah.
Is it me or has time just been flying by since COVID hit? Like, it seems like
it's weird.
I know it's weird.
It's because we warped back into COVID too, right? So we all.
Yeah. So how's your business changed since then?
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I think we've grown more into an investor model with the a turnkey based investment program now that we've been fortunate enough to bring in just about 100 investors since the beginning of 2021 into different short-term rentals across 30 plus markets. So it's been quite the change, but a different level of responsibility too.
Man, that sounds like y'all are, man. So basically you run like an arbitrage syndication program, correct?
It is a syndication without the steroids, except investors in this case, they in most cases individually come into a unit. So if it's 24 doors, you typically have one investor per door instead of an aggregated typical syndication model.
Okay, and do you need like the same public filings and all that as a regular real estate syndication, or no?
No, a lot of it's in watching the wording and the contracts that we do have. We had to send them through legal review to make sure that we were on the left side of what would otherwise be required to have an SEC filing for syndication efforts.
Okay. So let's say, hey, Coach Cav, I want to get a unit. Tell me what that process is like. How does your company step in and get me to that unit?
Right. So on the surface, we have a sourcing team that's looking across different markets across the U.S. and Canada. We take on units administratively, meaning my company then goes out. We sign long-term lease agreements or master lease agreements at a minimum of 36 months, which then creates the structure for 36-month investment period for investors. That then bleeds us into the design aspect. Once the investment's secured, we provide all of the interior design and tech install with teams of interior designers that we've contracted, and then all of the back end management stuff that's required to do your day-to-day stuff. So when you package that together, you get an investor that doesn't have to worry about any administrative overhead requirements. They don't have to worry about being legally permitted, insurance requirements, utilities, finding a place, negotiating with a landlord. Don't have to worry about getting to a place to design it, or the leaky pipe at 2 a.m. So it really provides investors with an opportunity to get into the business without doing any of the required work.
You know what's interesting is just a few years back. I mean, I remember hearing like BiggerPockets, for example, when they started getting little rumblings about the Airbnb world. And even like Brandon Turner on there was like, man, I don't get this Airbnb thing. It's so stupid. He goes, I tried to make one of my rentals an Airbnb, and I get these calls. Where's the train station, or what time is the day? I don't know. Look it up. Just like he's like annoyed by it. He goes, I don't understand it. I just want to get the rentals and make them, regular rentals, and put someone in there for a year and be done with it. And it went from that sentiment to, of course, all the housing prices went crazy, right? And so people couldn't get the 2% rule no more. You know what I'm saying? Like 2% of what the price of the house is, you're supposed to get in rent. People couldn't get the 1%. People couldn't get the 0.5% anymore. So now it's all gone like full circle to everybody wants an Airbnb. Everybody, even real estate investors, are looking for a house that can be an Airbnb. Mm-hmm. And it seems like you were riding the perfect wave at the perfect time when that happened.
Yeah, except for we're not in the business of buying. That's one unique difference here. Everything's rental arbitrage, even in this model. So, as I mentioned, the fabric or the fabric of the structure is really creating those long-term lease agreements, which, for traditional homeowners creates stability for them in their investments, especially if they're a buying long-term hold investor. That immediate partnership with long-term lease agreements provides them with instant stability to start to recoup their investment. So that structure, again, for us works because it allows us to get into as many homes across as many states without any restrictions, right? We've at times had 20 plus different projects being worked on at one time, where you can't reasonably do that in a scenario where you're buying properties across multiple different states. So
maybe not directly buying, but it's working. You are working with the previous model in a way, and it's changing because you're convincing people that are like that mindset. Like, I'll never do Airbnb, just want to do long-term rentals. Yet you're convincing them to let y'all Airbnb out of their house. So it's changing where they're like, oh, okay, so there's a different way to rent my house where I don't have to, look up credit scores, look up background checks, and hopefully get a good renter in there for a year that's not going to trash my place. Where Coach Cav and his team are going to come in here and make my place freaking beautiful, like for a magazine. And they're going to, anything that's going to break or whatever like that, they're going to handle it immediately and keep it 100%. So the year or 2 years, at least, whatever, when I get my house back, it's going to look as pristine as it was when I handed it over, maybe even better.
Right. So, Coach, like, how many units, like, how has your team gotten into? Like, how many units do you operate for all your operators?
So we currently in the portfolio right now have 202 properties. Of the 202, 175 belong to investors.
Wow. So, okay. So now you're doing 175 belong to investors. Now you just really blown my mind. Like, what does your team look like to manage all this?
So it's multi-layered.
Mhm.
If it's a large investment, we've partnered with larger management companies, more specifically Journey. So anything over 5 units that we take, we're handing it off to Journey to manage. They provide all of the back end management that's required for any short-term rental operation. For anything less than that, we've got a layered system where we have our team of VAs that grow 1 per 8 property. We bring VAs in, and then we go out and we source experienced hosts to come in and manage properties on the surface, and then the VAs provide them with back end support so they can focus on the guest and the customer experience, and the VAs focus on all the back and admin stuff that may have to go on with Airbnb and whatnot. So,
It instantly jumps out at me when you're saying that especially the part with 1 VA per 8 properties, right? It sounds like you're bringing a little bit of the military mentality and structuring your business. Is that correct? Because you got your platoons, your squadrons, and all that stuff, but you got a leader for each one. And is that correct?
yeah, that's interesting because being in the military, it helps because we go through this planning process. It's called MDMP, or the military decision making process, and it's built on the premises that everything's a problem. But in order to solve a problem, you've got to sort of build a framework around it, and then you've got to understand the problem. And then you break it down into different or subsets of different categories that then allow you to create the best case scenario to define success, right? But yeah, you're exactly right. Everything that's sort of built out it's due to my background and what we do on a day-to-day basis, and it's been able just to translate over into business.
Yeah, I like that, because that's we're at the point right now. My company, we have over 40 units now, right? So we have as our own arbitrages plus the ones we manage for other people. But we have, and that's crossed my mind before. I'm like, well, we should once like every 10 units or whatever, put just don't want to overwhelm the VAs. They're going to manage those 10, then the next one to manage. I thought about doing something like that. We haven't done that yet. So they're all doing all of the units. So, but that's pretty cool, man. I'm going to look into that. Yeah. Thank you for that insight.
Yeah, so some of it was math, right? Because you'll interview and you'll hire, and the first thing they'll tell you normally is like they'll take on up to 14 to 15 properties, right? And then you're just kind of like, yeah, you get all that work out of one person, but at some point, right, they have a capacity, and then if you don't layer them with redundancy, then you may create a failure point in your business where life happens, right? VA gets sick or mom gets sick, something happens, and then they're out for a couple of days, and then you've got to find a way to fill that gap. So when we peeled that back, it led us to the 8 property rule. So then we're able to layer them with some redundant operations behind them.
So explain that layer them with redundancy. That sounds interesting.
So normally, as I mentioned, you'll get one and they'll take on up to 15 or 16 properties. So we could have played the 1 to 16 rule, but the 1 to 16 rule then lends you to risk, right? Because if life happens, then you create a hole in the business that could have been prevented if you had 2 fulfilling, right, that role. So we've got 2 covering essentially 16 properties versus 1 covering 16 properties, right? So it just creates a layer of redundancy, just in case one's out for some odd reason, or you're breaking up into different shifts to have somewhat of a 24-hour coverage.
Okay, so 2 cover 16. If 1 goes out, they're covering 8. but then one goes out, he has the 16. Okay, I got you. Because that's one hiccup I'm kind of concerned about too. Like I have one VA, but if he goes down sick, oh man, what do I do? Okay, that's a good. Okay, gotcha.
Because they already come in with that capacity, right, to do
Mhm.
so you just break it up.
Yeah.
And then if you have to rely on that one just for 2 or 3 days, then they've got the capacity to do it.
And you said your VAs are on a 24/7 rotation?
24/7 rotation?
Yeah.
No, there's about a 4-hour window or so overnight where
okay.
nobody's on. So
Okay.
yeah.
And that hasn't presented any problems having that gap.
Yeah.
No, so the thing is, if there's a reservation, when we get the end of the day report, it comes in about 10 o'clock. If there's somebody that's checking in later, if they say, hey, we're not coming until 2 a.m., then somebody will stay up to cover that. If we don't have someone coming in that late at night, then there's no reason, for us to have somebody staying up just monitoring chat.
You're the second straight guest. So people basically, what y'all are doing is when everyone's checked in, everything's all good. Everyone kind of backs off for the night. That's basically how y'all run it.
Right. But I guess because we get a detailed end of the day report by 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Their last messages go out, ask if there are any check-ins that haven't checked in yet. They find out exactly what time they're coming in. So that then prompts someone to stay on and cover at least until the last check-in has occurred. But otherwise, we cut sling load at least for 4 to 5 hours. But the 4 to 5 hours our time is still normal daylight operating time in Asia. Right. So even though we have folks that are off, there's still some coverage that's happening while we sleep.
Okay. That makes sense then. Okay. Now, because I remember you said earlier that you source leads from US to Canada. Where are your listings at?
Oh, they're in about 35 different markets. We're in 2 provinces in Canada, Saskatchewan, and Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, okay. I'm in what is it? Edmonton? No, I forgot. I have some up there. The market. I'm forgetting it. Canmore, Banff, that area.
Banff. Okay, yeah. So we're not too far from there. The home we took in Calgary was only due to its proximity to that resort. Right. Mm-hmm. We've got a shuttle not too far from the home that we have there that goes directly to Banff in less than an hour. But the little unknown secret to that park and the travelers that go there, they pay a lot of money for travel there. So mm-hmm. we see over $400 a night in a 5-bedroom home that sleeps 16 in Calgary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's great, man. That's great money.
Yeah. See, that makes you like, how do you, how are you sourcing your markets? Like, hey, I know this will be investor friendly. Are you mainly chasing just vacation rental markets, or you just loading up AirDNA and going where they say, or how are you guys sourcing it?
No, so a lot of it comes with my lead guy Harper. He's in the real estate, but he's also a sales guy. So he monitors markets based on 1, regulations, and then 2, saturation of markets. So he's not looking in Houston, right? But so he's looking in sort of mid-tier markets, right? And then the third is our military markets, right? Just because of what's created in those environments and the travel demographics that come out of it. But that's where he builds the list to start to source units and locations. And then obviously some, like the Calgary deal was largely based on the resort town of Banff out there that you mentioned earlier.
So
Okay.
what tools does your partner use to find these places?
Airbnb.
That's it? He don't use AirDNA. He don't pay for any special something like software like that. Just straight Airbnb.
Nope. Airbnb. And the reason why is because Airbnb gives you the most real time, up to date. If you go in as a traveler in any market, you'll get the facts, right, without a 12-month lag or 6-month lag in data. So it helps us understand on the surface within minutes of what the market and what the market's potential is.
That's a smart idea, man. Because you gotta start depending on AirDNA. It's data, but
I see a lot of quirks with their DNA. A lot of flaws. You've seen them too, Micah, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say, for example, you look at this resort town with and you look up 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's saying they should be all getting $1,000 or they should all get $500 a night, right, or whatever it is. And then you put it, and then you punch in a 4-bedroom house, and it says it should only get $100 a night. And you're like, why would a 4-bedroom house make less than a 3-bedroom house? And then you go in, because there's more 3-bedrooms out there, more data for them to pull. Whereas there's only like 2 or 3 4-bedrooms that have, that are pretty crappy properties that aren't making very much. So AirDNA, the computer mind says, well, 4-bedroom properties should do way less than 3-bedroom properties. And it's not looking at it like you said, you go to the Airbnb, you see right away, oh, it's a 4-bedroom, but it's a crappy property. It's got carpet everywhere, it's got old wall, nasty furniture, and so I could, that's the biggest tip so far. I mean, you get some good stuff, but so could you walk us through how your partner does that? How they scroll Airbnb to find these nuggets of knowledge?
Yeah, so we have built what we coin as a value gap analysis tool. It's just an Excel data sheet. It's broken up into 3 sections: the travel demographics, the value gaps, which are really the amenities, and then the far right column shows us what unique value is in the market. So the traveler demographics are, the most important thing, regardless of the market, because you've got to understand who's traveling and what the market's capacity is for those travelers. Then the most important, or second most important thing, become the amenity gaps, or the value gaps, as we call them. And that's where going into Airbnb really helps you understand, right, where your value potential is in the market. Because as you mentioned, Steve, AirDNA will give you sort of baseline numbers, but in Airbnb, by just going into a very filtered search, right, I can find out that if I sleep 14 to 16, I may be the only home that can then have the ability to offer pets, have a kid-friendly listing, offer games. And I can, then I can see how many spas are in the market, and then have the potential to add that. So once we understand where those gaps exist in the market, we then, within that data sheet, we have a very targeted result that comes out of it that we, hand to the interior designer and say, hey, here's where this place needs to be. But what that gets us to is then figuring out the unique value portion is where, when you compete with less than 5% of the market for any one traveler demographic. So for example, the place in Calgary sleeps 16. It allows pets, it has kid-friendly amenities. We put a dedicated game room in there, and it's the only home in Calgary that close to Banff that has those unique amenities offered. So AirDNA, right, for instance, told us to price at $283 a night, but our value in the market told us that we're not competing with anyone. So we're going to set the market price here, and we priced it right above $400 a night.
Ooh, I love that. You said you hit a couple of, you said value gap analysis and amenity gap. Now, man, I love that. Like, what are amenities are you saying that aren't readily available in most markets that someone could go out right now and create a value automatically?
Pets are probably the biggest one, because most people, they feel if they don't have pets, they probably won't allow pets in their short-term rental. So pets become one of the bigger discriminators. But to me, that's just like Walmart not selling groceries, right? Why would they discriminate in the business that would affect their bottom line? That's just people being emotionally tied to their business when they shouldn't be. So normally when you're adding pets, it will push you above half the market automatically. Kid-friendly listings are another big one. We find huge gaps in every market when it comes to kid-friendly amenities, and the key here becomes if it's a filterable item inside of Airbnb or VRBO, then you should look at it from a listing build standpoint, because it gives you the unique ability to then offer something against a certain traveler demographic that others don't offer. And, we always get into this conversation about, being on the first page and showing up, showing up in the rankings. But, at the end of the day, it's never where you start, it's where you finish, because every traveler has a unique travel need. And they're going to go in and start to select filters. So if you show up on the first page when no filters are selected, good for you. But 9 times out of 10, people are looking for something specific. So that's where you want to be, right? You want to be there when all the filters are up, and you're competing now with less than you're competing with a smaller portion of the market at that point.
The more of those boxes that are checked, man, the more valuable you are. That is a fact right there.
On my vacations, I always hit that swimming pool box. I want to swim.
There you go. That's it.
Now, let's say you're doing a market analysis, because I've never actually really done that. Just went in there and checked all the boxes and just see, hey, how many listings check all the boxes? Are you guys one of those listings that checks all the boxes, or you guys check the boxes that aren't readily available?
It depends on the market. So downtown Houston has a different traveler demographic than down in Webster. So we're looking at different things or different amenities to offer for those two distinctly unique places.
Got you. Okay.
We had someone that hopped on the show a while back, Micah.
Clint Harris.
Is that her or A Bear? I don't know, the one that upstate New York.
Oh, Aber, yeah.
Aber, yeah. And she decided to put it told her the info told her to put the hot tubs at each of her spots, right? Her little cabins. Shot her rate, or she could charge way more. Her bookings went through the roof just for that one thing, and that's special up there because it gets cold and people want to be able to chill out in the hot tub, and that makes a huge difference. So, but would a hot tub work in Houston? Maybe not so much. Rap videos, who knows? But but yeah, I like that how you said it depends on the amenity depends on the area. So I can imagine up in Canada, cold and snow, put a hot tub out on the balcony. I mean, that's going to be a big sell. Down south or the coast, you want a nice swimming pool, that's going to be a huge sell, right? It just depends on the area.
Yeah, because remember I was going through Houston because I was dealing with the oversaturation, so I was like, man, what's something that they don't have? And it was Tesla chargers. There's 4 houses in Houston with Tesla chargers. I'm like, man, y'all got all these Teslas on the road and ain't nobody got no Tesla charger. I was like, there you go. So yeah, it definitely depends on that market for sure. Are you wanting to hop into the short-term rental space, but just don't know where to get started? Join our Live, Let Thrive Facebook group to network with other like-minded investors. We have property managers, lenders, and other experienced hosts to learn from. Click the link below to join. I'll see you there.
Yep, that's a good point. Heba, one of our interior designers, she also manages a few of her places. She just ordered a Tesla charger for a garage in one of the places in Houston. So she's on it too.
She was listening to Live, Let Thrive, I bet.
Heba's a friend of the show, man.
That was Heba. Never mind. There you go.
Yeah, we're in the same mastermind. Yeah. Heba knows. Yeah, that's true.
Heba knows. That should be her tagline. Heba knows. I like that. Oh man, that is cool, man. And so you you bring people in and you coach them too. How does the coaching part of your business work?
I like to say I don't do much coaching, right? A lot of it just it's because I take quite a few phone calls for investors that are interested, and then a lot of it just turned into to coaching them into understanding, right? The difference between them doing something themselves or us doing it for them. And then on our live calls with each investment deal, those are essentially investment overviews, but also coaching sessions as well, because investors then get a chance to ask, all the questions they have in mind about short-term rentals and our philosophies and the investment that's in front of them. So
I think you're like a lead by example kind of guy. A quote comes to mind, and I'll butcher the quote. It's something like it's talking about in the olden days. He goes, they told this one guy. See, I don't even remember the names. I'm terrible at this, but he says, "Go out and spread the gospel." And then the second part of that is, and if absolutely necessary, you should speak. And I was like, that's cool, man. Go out there. You're showing, like, just by being, who you are, showing this is how it should be done. And you said, yeah, you don't really coach, but all these things you're telling us today, that's some major knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of it just comes from experience over time. And I think being spread out in so many different markets really lends itself to having to uniquely understand what could work in one market that won't work in another market. And especially because we have an investor-based model now, it is more important now than ever that we get the market research right. And then because we don't put any administrative liability on our investors, like we hold the leases to all these places that we have. So we've got to be comfortable in our model and our analysis to say that, if an investor decides to park the car on the side of the road and say, look, I'm done, tomorrow, we've got to be okay taking that investment back into our portfolio and knowing that it'll perform based on the market research. So
now a question, what's one of the, cause you talk about, value adds and amenities, stuff like that. What's one of the most overrated ones that you've seen that people always try? Oh, if I leave a bottle of wine, it's going to bring it up. Or if I do this, I do that. What's one of the most overrated one that doesn't really pay a lot of dividends that you've noticed?
Anything that doesn't have a block next to it that you can check.
Oh,
Ooh, there you go.
I like that.
That's a fact.
It's got to check a box, right?
Got to check a box. Because if you think about it, that means the platforms deem it important enough, right, to have it as a filterable item. So let's think about the gaming market and how much that's grown, right? That was not a filterable item this time last year on any major platform, and now it is. So the folks that offered games last year, they may have had value offered, but it wasn't a searchable value, which means they couldn't, charge more for it or stand out in the market. But now you can, because you can go in and check the block, and then you can show the photo and have it tagged in your summary. And now you've got sort of the three-layer monster to show the potential guests.
Airbnb does the research for you, basically. You just got to follow.
Yes, there you go. That's it. I couldn't say it any better. They do it for you because it's right in front of you, right? You just gotta follow it.
That should be your tagline, Coach Cav. Check the blocks.
Check the blocks.
It's simple, right?
But it is. It's right there in front of you.
Wow. So install a swimming pool, a hot tub, install. I just go down the list. Oh man. So where is your business headed, man? Y'all gonna get like 1,000 units coming up?
I don't know. We just finished 24 down in San Antonio. Heba did a phenomenal job leading that effort with a team of remote heroes that she managed for almost a month on the ground. but we're continuing just to build the investor network. Still looking across different markets and starting to build a little bit more of the back end out. But the big picture, the sharing economy, I know we talked about it last time, but we are actively searching. Well, we're actively expanding the RVs that are in the portfolio, currently 3, and then we're actively looking for an RV park that we can take and really encompass that sharing economy model into one footprint. So hopefully we find the right deal out there that gets us to a home run.
I like that. So, and if you don't mind giving some trade secrets, what are some cities that you're real big on right now? You mentioned San Antonio.
Yeah, so I think Montgomery, Alabama, Enterprise, Alabama, and I'm talking all these smaller markets that folks are going to be like, what is he talking about? Another great market that we've gotten into the Newark market, and it's largely because the regulations came in New York. You had 4 million listings that went away overnight plus COVID, which then now made Newark the gateway to New York City, right?
Oh,
so if you're close to Penn Station in Newark, then you are now getting New York City prices in Newark. So those would be the 3 markets I think we've experienced like the most growth in a lot of good numbers.
Gotta love Alabama, man, because that's when nobody's gonna look there. I'm in a few markets that I know ain't nobody gonna ever look there. They don't think people go there. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I love that strategy.
One of you're saying that when y'all search out for new cities or new locations, and you mentioned that regulations now, and you showed us an example because that makes Newark so strong because they took 4 million listings off of the New York or whatever. So what do you look for in a city's regulation? Do you look for a city that already has existing Airbnb regulations, or do you go for a city that has 0 regulations, or how do you do that?
So the regulations, the way we look at them, it's not a bad thing, right? Because it gives you a roadmap to success. And if it's not too restrictive, we'll go for it. So for example, Nashville, Charleston, and Savannah, I think they had an overnight meeting some time ago, and they built these regulations that almost prohibit outside investors from buying or renting up multiples of properties and not living there. So the first thing we look for in the regulations is if it's an owner-occupied regulation, because that will start to limit your capacity. And then even if you get into the market, it's going to require the homeowner to be liable in some respect. And then most of them don't want to sign up for it. So it becomes increasingly harder to get into regulated markets that have an owner-occupied ordinance.
Yeah. Okay, so as long as you like some regulation, but owner-occupied is a deal killer. You ain't trying.
I mean, because the owners basically have to trust what you're doing enough to hold some liability in the deal, right? And most of them, trust me, they may like the model, but they'll be like, no thanks. I don't want to sign up for that.
Okay. So what about places that have 0 regulations? You don't fear like going heavy into one of those spots and all of a sudden overnight they're going to start throwing some regulations?
No, because what we've seen is they don't shut it down. They find a way to grandfather in current listings in a way that allows you to continue to operate. I think we're starting to see that in Charlotte like right now. But a lot of what they're doing in most cases are largely revolved around taxes, right? And not so much killing short-term rentals because they've brought the city to its knees. So it doesn't stop us from going out into different areas that don't have regulations.
I guess me and Micah are gun shy in that regard because we were operating out of Arlington, Texas, where they shut down Airbnb in like 99% of the houses in Arlington, just totally shut it down. Not even owner occupied, nothing, nobody. Grandma can't rent out the back, little 1-bedroom house in the backyard.
Right.
Everybody got shut down with no way of doing it except if you're in one little 1 mile radius outside of the Cowboy Stadium, you can do Airbnb. So we're gun shy in that regard. And I hear what you're saying, that if they have, usually they're more reasonable. We're fortunate enough to see the unreasonable part. Jerry Jones and his boys, wanted to take it all over. Anyways, that's a different subject altogether.
But I will say this about those regulations. It has created a heavy opportunity. Because, I just had the duplex in the entertainment district. We ended up not closing on it, but it does create unique opportunities where if you are in the entertainment district, you have a little huge, and you're dealing with a small circumference of people. And then like how Coach Cav says, that value adds there, you can find out what they are offering in a very easy manner because it ain't too many hosts.
Yep.
If you stand out there, it's a killer.
Definitely creates opportunity. But I guess my thing was, what if he would have done it before that 1 mile radius thing, saying, oh, Arlington's doing pretty good. There's not a lot of Airbnbs, no regulations. I'm gonna just get one about 2 miles away from the stadiums. I'll be good. And
That's true.
They would have all got shut down. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that I'm trying to see what you're looking for when you go into a city with no regulations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean the risk is there. I guess that's just part of the risk we take on in this business with that potentially happening in any market, right? So I don't know that there's a right answer to that particular scenario.
I guess the other end of it, like if you did see a city that already has existing Airbnb rules that you thought were not too unfair, and then that would give you a roadmap to get in there and say, okay, we can operate here and make money here and pay the taxes, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, the other side of it too is you have so many legal operators and people that don't want to do the hard work, right, to get permitted. The regulations will eventually cause markets to level, right, at some point. And let's just use Houston for example, right? If Houston drew up regulations, because you have so many people that just get in because either they're being sold something, an expiring lease, or somebody told them it was a good idea. Those aren't the people that are gonna go through with regulating in most cases, right? Their place, right? It's going to be the professional host and the serious operators that are looking to build a business. In most cases, like us, right? And my guy Harper, if we're putting more than 4 to 5 properties in any one area, he's also reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce and the City Council to one, meet and greet, understand where they are from a regulatory standpoint. And then just ask them about opportunities that we could potentially have with our short-term rentals in the market. So it's sort of a layered conversation there, but in my estimation, half the Houston market would be out within a year if they were to regulate anything in that market.
Yeah, it needs regulations. They got mad at me for saying it.
Yeah, Houston used to be a great market, right, for prime Airbnbs and short-term rentals, but it's just become a breeding ground for, as I call it, hey, who wants a lease, right? I'm selling lease.
Yeah, they were ready to burn me at the stake for saying that. Those hosts were mad at me. I said it needs regulations. Yeah.
Houston's like one giant suburb, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. We still have a ton of listings out there, but
let's go into this. So how are you dealing with the saturation out there?
Good. I mean, look, we're not operating, in my estimation, right, with the saturated part of the market, right? All those 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom places that are in the market. We're not necessarily competing with them because they didn't do any market research and analysis prior to going into the market, right? If you're operating on a good idea, we're not competing with you because we've done some due diligence to help us understand where we can attain some degree of success in the market.
I like that. If you're operating on a good idea, we aren't competing with you. I love that.
Plus, he's checking all the blocks too. A lot of people aren't checking all the blocks.
Checking the blocks, man. Checking the blocks. I remember saying that to my kids when I leave here. Right? Checking
all the blocks.
So you're keeping your day job, and your day job is being in the military. Thank you for your service and all that. How much longer do you plan on staying in the military?
I don't know, man. I've got a pretty fun job. I play games for a living.
Oh.
As a simulations guy, I build games. So, soldiers can train, in the simulated environment before they go out and do it in real life. So I have a ton of fun doing what I do. We're getting ready to head to Germany here this summer. I'll be there for 3 years. So next time in 2 years, we talk again on the podcast, we'll have a 6-hour time difference or a 7-hour time difference. But
man, you going to Germany for 3 years, man?
Yes.
Whoa, congratulations. I think.
You happy about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be a good family trip, and some of it's just around the fact that we'll get a chance to break some of the cultural norms that we were enclosed right here within this 50-state capacity with. And one of the things people don't really understand about Europe is that they're so close to other countries, and every country is a different culture. Whereas like we cross state lines, and some people may say, I'm from Florida, I'm different. I'm from Alabama, I'm different. But I'm like, the hell you are. We are what we are here in this 50-state capacity. But it's just different when you go to Italy, to France, to the Netherlands, to Germany, and all those different countries that are in the same geographical capacity as we travel across the state. So I'll get off my Europe bubble because I know.
No, I love Europe too, man. I love Europe.
Yeah, Steve's a traveler, man. Steve's been everywhere.
Yeah, you drive a couple miles and you're a whole different country, different language. It's crazy, man. You in one day you could be in like 5 or 6 different countries. It's insane. But that is cool, man. I'm happy for you. I'd always fantasize about some cool like that, taking the family to another place for a year, just getting them a different culture, a different, site, different view on life. I love that.
Right. Yeah.
So your business can run itself while you're gone.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I do a lot of the admin overhead stuff, and as I say, just investor relations. So if it pertains to the structure of a lease agreement that the company's going to sign, or investors that are looking to spend, $50,000 or more on investment, then I'm taking the lead on those. But otherwise, we've got an operations team that handles a lot of the day-to-day stuff.
So if you don't mind me asking, and right now it's all over the news, the Ukraine thing, and you're going to Germany, and I automatically thought of the Ukraine situation. What do you think? How do you think all that's going to unfold?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think the timing is rather interesting as to where we are politically with the G7 countries and all these countries now being in the midst of an election year, right? When Putin decides to go in and invade. But, as far as the resources that the Ukraine has, what I do understand, at least from a resource standpoint, they're a top 5 resource country. So the taking over of resources to combine them with, it's kind of like Walmart taking, a Publix, right? Now you hold more resources, which makes the world in Europe more dependent upon the resources that you hold. So then that gives you more leverage, right? If that's the end state to his game, then we're going to be in for a rocky ride.
Whoa! Now, that's a good question, because I've been to Airbnb groups, and a lot of people, they're like saying, "Yeah, this is going to affect us." Like, do you think it's going to have an effect? A lot of people saying it's going to have an effect on the housing, which then in turn affects us. Where do you think those effects do fall?
I don't think they'll have economic impacts, but not
Mhm.
not in the housing and short-term rental market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it is an interesting take because I was, I've seen the headlines. I haven't really read too much into it, but when you explain it like that, it's a top 5 resource country. I was like, why does everybody care about this so much? And sorry if it's a callous question. It's Russia, going in on their neighbor, whatever. Russia's whatever. But I was like, that makes a lot more sense. There's a lot of economic interest in this country. That's why, and for Europe probably more than us, but that's why everybody's attention's focused there. Where if they would have, went in and took over Uzbekistan or something, and the world would be like, whatever. You can go ahead and have them. But yeah, that's follow the money, right?
Yep, that's it. Become resource rich, and the world has a dependency on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to get deep with a question like that, but but we got Coach Cav on, man. We gotta ask him anything, right? Oh man. Well, thanks for hopping on, dude. This is cool. I love how your business is growing. I love how you got the singular focus. I love how you're checking all the boxes, checking all the blocks. This is it's simple. Some of it's simple like that. Check the boxes. It's right there in front of you. Like you said, before, there was no box for gaming, so why even bother building something out that's not going to give you any front page SEO. But once that box popped up, okay, throw some games in there, man. And I love that. Your value, the pets, kid friendly. Oh man, those are 2 huge things.
If someone wants to invest in Airbnbs with you, where would they reach you at, Coach?
They can text into our turnkey community by texting the word club or turnkey to 202-918-5027. That'll pull them into our turnkey text-based community, and that's where we share all of our upcoming investment opportunities that we also host live calls on every Wednesday.
Okay, cool. I might have to text into that. Turnkey. All right, man. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on. It's been great having you, man. Those value adds, checking all the boxes. You're probably the only person on here that's actually came in there and broke it down like that. Most people are trying to use AirDNA. Just use Airbnb.
Oh, right? Yeah. AirDNA will get you in trouble, man. It builds a false sense of market security when, in fact, they can't really tell you the value that your place will hold, right? At the end of the day, and your value lies in what the market's not offering. So, in my Calgary example, if I'm the only show in town that's, sleeping 16 with offer pets and kid-friendly amenities, and why would I charge $283 when, I'm the only show in town, so, but that's the AirDNA follower that then places, their nightly rate at $283 instead of at $400. So.
Yeah. You know what? If AirDNA is listening to this, they're probably going to start creating those check boxes inside of their algorithm, which would be smart if they did. But yeah.
Just follow Airbnb's lead is, what I tell all of the developers that call and ask about, some of the things we're doing. Just, look at Airbnb and what they're saying to their audience. But all of it's filterable, right? So there you go. The answer's right there in front of you.
That bring it back to a military thing, man. It's like I don't know if this even ties in. You know how I go way out there and I try to bring it all back in. But I forgot what this phenomenon is called. I was even trying to look it up right now. But back in World War II, they send out planes. Some planes would come back, some wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And then the ones that came back had bullet holes in them, and so the experts at the time saying, well, let's put some where these bullet holes are hidden. Let's put some armor right there to reinforce these areas where they're getting hit. And it took like this guy who to think of it differently, right? And he's like, no, he goes, the ones that are coming back with bullet holes, that means the bullet holes aren't, those spots aren't taking down the plane. We need to reinforce the spots that aren't getting hit by bullets. And that made me think of the AirDNA saying, oh yeah, let's reinforce where the bullet holes are. Here's the data, go, do this. But you're looking at where the bullet holes aren't hitting. and using Airbnb to do so. So I don't know if that analogy made any sense, but that's what it reminded me of.
No, and just for everybody else, so Wheelhouse also offers the same amount of data points that Airbnb does. They give it to you a little differently in a graph chart, but if you go into Wheelhouse and you look at a specific market, they've got a graphical depiction that shows you by percentage what the market's offering. So if we're ever looking at something real quick to provide some feedback on, we just pop into Wheelhouse and pull the market up, look at the chart, and it tells us exactly where the gaps are in the market. So anything that's 10% or under that's not being offered, then there you go. It's a decision point that gets us quickly to say yes on a particular market or listing.
That's a good one. I didn't know Wheelhouse was doing that. I know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's a lot cheaper than AirDNA.
Yeah, well, you got a free version too, so.
Yeah, I noticed these pricing companies are starting to hop into the data space. Price Labs is one of them as well. So, I mean, you guys are pricing it out. You might as well have the data to back it up. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Coach drive decisions.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Coach Cav, thanks again for hopping on, 2-time guest. And I guess maybe the next time you hop on, you'll be in Germany. So yeah. Tankashe. I don't know if that's oh, cool. Well, it's always a great having you on. You're always welcome back. You already said where can folks find you, right? Mm-hmm. And cool, man. Well, thank you so much, and good luck in all your endeavors.
Yeah. We are out.
Later.
That was a good episode, man. Episode 196. So that means what? By the time April 1st rolls around, we'll have 200 episodes out there, man. But I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to listen to us, man. This has been awesome, man. I just learned a lot. Like I've been over here on my laptop checking boxes and seeing what's not available in some of the markets, especially Houston, because that shit's oversaturated.
Shoot, yeah, man. No, that's a great episode. Like I said, it's like it's not, and it's funny, and people look at things, try to make things so complicated, right? It's not brain surgery. Mm-hmm. He just said the simplest things, allow pets, make it kid friendly. I mean, he named some simple things and check the box, as many boxes as you can. Yep. And you'll be successful. Of course, be in the right area with the regulations thing, but he didn't make it like brain science. Like people like, I'll bring it up, the thing with the Silicon Valley guys. Those are, would AirDNA this is, we need to find this perfect, area because AirDNA says they're basing everything on that, which could be flawed information, right?
Yeah.
And it's not, and if amenities weighs so heavily on what a place is going to be successful, AirDNA ain't telling you all that.
No.
So anyways, yeah, man, just make a place like he said, make it a value-friendly place that offers good amenities for that area, and you'll be fine.
That's a fact, man. I was typing in some stuff. That was a really good episode and a really good gym, because that's something I haven't really done. And what I did was I just went and checked all the boxes and see who actually has it. But Airbnb, I noticed something about it. They would show me listings that don't have the amenities, but just check the amenity off, saying, "Oh, by the way, it's missing an EV charger." So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, because they want more choices for the screen. Yeah. Just that's when they started doing the, okay, these are similar to your dates. Remember, they started putting the under on the bottom. I know you want to go from the 19th to the 25th, but if you go on the 18th to the 23rd, you can get this spot. They started doing that, which is cool because you'll be popping up more. But then on the other end, more places are going to be popping up. It's not going to really narrow you down.
Airbnb, I noticed they don't ever want to be in a position where every amenity you check isn't available, so they're just going to show you something, but they'll tell you, hey, this is missing. And that goes into like, when the air cover and all that came out, they start offering yurts and weird cabins and A-frame houses. They let those be selectable amenities for a house that you want. So yeah, Airbnb is definitely onto that. So they, like you said, they do the research for you. You just got to follow it.
Love it, man. Great episode.
All right. Good episode. Yeah. So thank y'all for continuing to listen. You can email us at liveletthrive@gmail.com. You can email Steve personally, chessardenrock@gmail.com. Hit us up. Follow us on IG. We're going to be pumping out some content for you. So yeah, man, thank y'all for continuing to listen to us. And be sure to join the Facebook group.
Facebook group, baby. We're going to start doing some meetups here in Dallas, and it's going to be some good times. All the Dallas people come out, and then we might even record them, do some virtual stuff for you guys. So it's going to be this is a year of growth for LLT. It's coming.
Yeah, we definitely going to be doing some big stuff coming. And yeah. Speaking of the meetup, we do have a meetup in Dallas on March 10th. I already had one person confirmed he's flying in to come. So definitely check it out. Our good friend Peyton, he's going to fly in to come see it, to come to it. So
Nice.
Yeah, man. So if y'all want to come to the Dallas meetup, you can follow it in the Live Let Thrive Facebook group, or you can also check it out on my Instagram. I posted it on my Instagram as well. So hope to see y'all there. We are out.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.